Greetings, community, and welcome to Entropy Comics and another edition of this week's most anticipated reads tomorrow for New Comic Book Day, 8/28, 2024. And here we are once again, and here we are once more. And to those of you that cruise on through on the rewind, I'd like to thank you. And if those of you decide that want to hang out with me on the live, well, let's take a moment and say hi. You doing, Wad? I appreciate you being here. And look at that. You beat out Las Cruces. You the man, and forever he has to hide in shame. See how he is? Cruces, I know you're going to be in here in a moment. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, seriously, to those that decide to want to cruise on through either on the rewind and or on the live. That means you watch twice. I do greatly appreciate you. And if you like what you see, then go ahead and hit like. And if you decide that this is something that you decide you want to keep on the cruise on the continuing, then you can go ahead and subscribe. So I ask. Starting off, let's go ahead and start with Vault. They're going to bring us Barbaric versus Deathstalker, issue number 1. This is a one shot, and I am a huge Barbaric fan. The fact that they're going to go ahead and do this crossover with Deathstalker, it's kind of cool. I'm not a huge Deathstalker fan. At the same point, I'm not against the character at all. It's just something that I've never really put into my repertoire. So being that Barbaric is going to give me this introduction to this character, well, it's kind of cool because, like I said, I'm pretty vague on this character. So it's going to be interesting. I look forward to it, and it's pretty high on my list. Again, Vault, Barbaric versus Deathstalker, issue number 1. Moving out from Vault, we're going to cruise over to Oni, because Oni Press is going to bring us Cult of Lamb, issue number 3 of 4. This is based on the video game. This is a kind of a backstory to the actual video game and the character itself. I've really been enjoying it. I'm not familiar with the character at all as far as the game is concerned. I am familiar with the character when it comes to the new mod that they made a few months ago on Friday Night Funkin'. It's something that I play to quite frequently on my drums. I really dig that mod. And as far as the actual character of Cult of Lamb, that's where I first got introduced to the character. Why I also decided to pick up this book from issue number 1. It's hooked me. Here I am, issue number 3, and I'm almost tempted to play this game, let alone dying to read this book. So again, from Oni Press, Cult of Lamb, issue number 3 of 4, coming out 8/28, 2024. Moving out from that, we're going to go ahead and cruise over, and we're going to talk about Marvel. Marvel's going to bring us a few books. They're going to start it off with Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 56. Getting it close to hit issue number 60, whereas that's going to go ahead where Wells hands off the baton to our successive writer, and we're going to get some pretty cool story leading up to that. If I recall, we're roughly almost 2.5 years deep into what was supposed to be a solid 3-year project. Basically, Wells was able to knock that out, not only on schedule, but I believe, in my own opinion, in accordance to, after speaking with him, he essentially knocked out what his overall goals were. If you recall, in the past volume, there were some problems that had to be fixed. Also, along with the volume before, not the original not the Spider-Man volume that was Dan Slott's, but the other Amazing Spider-Man tales before. Those things were essentially fixed in this volume, and he was able to go ahead and set up for what's supposed to happen in issue number 61, which is going to be a major event. Again, let's not skip too far, let's not look too far advanced. Let's go ahead and stick with issue again. Number 56 coming out for 8/28, 2024. Moving on from Amazing Spider-Man, let's talk about, well, Chasm. Ben Riley's back. And a little bit different. So Chasm, Curse of Cain is now involving another clone. So here we have Ben Riley, and we also have, well, Cain coming back. And now what that brings us is we have Ben that was originally after Peter, which now Ben is being pursued by Cain that was now pursuing Peter, which I assume once Peter finds out, will probably be pursuing Cain. I think the head of the snake is eating its tail. I'm just I'm curious to see what this is all about. I know now that Ben is and his girlfriend Forgot her first name, but let's go ahead and call her Hallows Eve. They're already turning a new leaf, and they're becoming kind of like the anti-hero that I basically knew that they would become again. So this is, I believe, that segue to that. And I'm curious to see where they go with this character from here. I personally like this character. Ben Riley, in my opinion, since he did these two good story arcs of that character, is kind of worn out that clone character, and I guess seeking a new identity. And that's where this, in my opinion, character came from of Chasm. I like the character. I just think it needs to be just written well enough to where most people accept the character, and written well enough to where we can go ahead and get a decent story of this character where it's just not an evil villain or an anti-hero. We get some a little more in depth, something that brings us a little more attachment to the character. And that's kind of what I'm hoping that we get in this storyline, which would be issue number 1 of 4 coming out. Here we go again, 8/28/2024. So again, Chasm Curse of Cain coming out tomorrow, issue number 1. And we're going to move out from that. We're going to talk about Incredible Hulk annual issue number 1. This is the actual 6th part of the Infinity Watch, which this also leads into what we're going to end up receiving, getting close to the end of fall and leading into winter, which will be another Infinity Stone style story. I can't believe I said that. So that's what we're leading into in all this. And essentially what we're getting is Thanos is learning about all these characters, stones, where they're at now, and that they all been embedded into these people. He has to contend with that, and he's showing them that basically he can wipe any and all of them out at the blink of an eye. We're just trying to figure out what it is all leading up to at this point and what the end game is. So again, that's what we're getting with Incredible Hulk annual issue number 1, which is actually part 6 of the Infinity Watch. Moving on from that, thanks for dancing with me. Let's go ahead and talk about NYX issue number 2. This is where we're going to end up getting another mutant. I'll give you the name, Local, but I won't give you all the powers and where it's coming from and all that stuff. Let's just say that Local's out of town. So NYX issue number 2 is coming out tomorrow, and we're going to get a new mutant. And I think that's really where eccentric wise this whole story's around, is more than likely NYX playing with this character, and we'll see where that leads. So again, coming out tomorrow, NYX issue number 2. Moving out for that, we're going to talk about Venom, Separation Anxiety issue number 4. What I've been digging about this is another one of what we're going to see a few stories of where Venom and Eddie are dislodging from one another. And this story, essentially what we're getting is Purple Man is essentially absorbing all of Venom, and that's fully not good for Eddie. Just saying. So yeah, this is kind of cool. It's a throwback story, but I believe really what it hints to is some of the separation aspects that we're getting when it even comes to the Venom War that we're going to get when who's going to get the Venom symbiote when we lead into the end of fall and the beginning of winter when we get a whole new Venom storyline. Again, just saying. So moving out from Venom, Separation Anxiety issue number 4. It's basically about the Purple Man and Venom. We're going to talk about Venom War Zombiettes issue number 1. I don't recall exactly where we saw our first Zombie. Hey, Las Cruces, hope you're well. I do recall that it was a rather interesting debut, because when we saw this resurrection of this character and then comes out of the grave and we saw the first Zombie, we also saw it kind of get thrown off to the side and zapped away. Now, where and when, we don't know, but that might be what we're seeing in this first edition. Now, it also ties into, as the name implies, the Venom War. This is where we're going to see Eddie and Dylan fighting, or maybe the symbiote abandoning one or both of these characters, both, because of the future, essentially, of the Marvel Universe, 616, and possibly others, all revolve around its existence of them not, I guess, even having the symbiote at this point. Both of them are capable of destroying the future, past, present. existence. There's a lot going on, people. If you're not reading this, I understand. If you're confused, I get that too. If you are reading this and you're confused, I'm kind of there with you, but at the same point, there is a lot being explained. There was a lot of gaps in some of the stuff before. That's also being explained. And in this war, when we kind of get through it and we're seeing, looking back, in my opinion, are going to have a lot of answers there, be able to pick up to the questions I believe now I'm formulating and in the past that I had are slowly getting answered even as we speak. So I am looking forward to this whole Venom War thing, let alone I know the Venom War's Zombiettes leads into all these explanations. So I'm looking forward to that. That starts out with issue number 1 coming out tomorrow, day 24, 2024. Moving on from that, let's talk about Spider-Gwen just for a moment. Reason why is, as you see, I was moving down in alphabetical order, and not only did I forget her to put her in there before the V's, but I actually forgot to put it on my list on my pull. Why? I'm not quite certain. And I do know that this is actually a rather, as the story goes and develops, a rather important part. It's issue number 4. This is a point that we're going to actually see where all this, there's some stuff going on and people hiding. What I am looking forward to is we're getting to get some outside help that she desperately needs. Definitely at the end of the book, I believe it's a separate story into it altogether. I know I'm being vague, but the thing is she keeps getting, meaning Spider-Gwen, these little minis, and they are all could be told as one ongoing series and make a lot more sense. So I know what I need to do is once I read this, put together almost this whole year, because I doubt they'll do another mini before then, and see where it is. If they do, I'll probably start of course at the end of the year, which would be around December. Not sweating it. Probably going, why? I know all this stuff was trying to tell me something between the initially a couple years ago where we get Wolfman, we end up getting stuff going on with Dazzler. She really kind of reinvents herself and realizes that she can't be in the 616. So she says to kind of hang out at home, realize that doesn't work, goes back to college, realize she's having issues with that. I'm just trying to piece all this thing together. And I know that in my mind, I really need to get back to the storyline because Spider-Gwen, it's cool. Because I skim over it and the way it's written and because meaning and these little gaps, it's hard for me to put together as a cohesive story, which I believe it's trying to be told as. So again, Spider-Gwen, I missed out. I'm going to get it. That's why I put it on the end right here and didn't want to totally forget it. Issue number 4 comes out tomorrow, and it's actually kind of rather important story, a piece to the storyline. All right, moving on from Spider-Gwen. Told you I totally spaced on this one. But we're going to go right back to the whole Venom thing. Venomverse Reborn, issue number 3. We're going to get a new symbiote. Now, just pretend I didn't tell you the name of symbiote is Void. I'm just saying that it's one of the characters. The cool thing is there was also other characters on here that I didn't recognize. Now, I did go and pick up some things, and, I'm just saying. And like I said, one of those things that I ended up picking up was, as you guessed it, the Reborn. Now, the cool thing is, they got that character, and they got the little spider dude. I thought that was kind of cool. I think it's rather important. I haven't jumped into it because, like I said, it wasn't my most anticipated read, but it was definitely up there. Okay, so moving on from that, let's go ahead and talk about IDW, TMNT, Black, White, and Green. Issue number 4. Now, I've been having a lot of fun with all these anthology little mini stories, and it's really cool because you can see all these individual contributors having fun with the stories and really being able to explore with these characters and give a little bit more in depth of either stuff that's happened in the past, stuff that's happened in the present, or just ways in which that I think these writers wanted to play with these characters, knowing that everything's restarting all over again. So I've been enjoying the series quite a lot. And it's just something that I've been really trying to take and put off to the side. So I don't really just try to skim and run through it. So I have really been enjoying this IDW version of the Black, White, and Green as we get in the black, white, and red and all these other versions we've been getting from the other companies. this is a cool take on that, and TMT is knocking it out of the park. But hey, I didn't want to miss this one because I did end up getting this the last moment. I just didn't remember who the publisher was. So, and I'm still actually trying to see it. It's going to be there. Okay, Oni Press. So, did I go to Oni? I did. I went to Oni, passed it, and went right back. Let's go right back to Oni Press because they're going to give us, well, I ended up getting cover C, I think. Yes, cover C. I'm still trying to figure out how to get the Sesame Street. I didn't read it. I just had to look to see, where. So come on, that doesn't count. Yeah, I saw it up there and I was like, you know what? I did want to get it. It wasn't high on my priority list, but being that it's sitting in front of me, I'm gonna get it. So that's why I ended up getting it. And I'm also a big fan of the you know, all ages and the whole blank covery things, you know what I mean? So being that it was something that looked like, even if I didn't want to keep it or so I can give it to a kid, and the kid can even color on it if they wanted to. So I'm just saying, how to get it. How to get it. All right, let's get back out of Oni Press. Let's get out of IDW and let's cruise over to DC because they're going to bring us Nice House by the Sea, issue number 2. Issue number 1, in my opinion, basically gave us I know a lot of people want to go ahead in their mind, go typecast what they believe that they're already going to read. But I believe issue number 1 fractured that premeditated idea of what you believe that you were going to read. It did go ahead and distinguish itself, slightly differed from the original series. And I am looking forward to the next 11 issues. So that's why this issue number 2 is pretty high on my priority list for me to read. But hey, let's move out from there and go ahead and talk about Image. Image is going to bring us Philadelphia issue number 35. I'm still having difficulties coming to the realization that it was in November of 2019 when the series initially launched, and I've been reading it ever since. I ended up doing an interview shortly after the launch of this series with Rodney Barnes. To this day, it's one of my most remembered, right? You know what I mean? Conversations and interviews. It was really, really interesting to always speak to this individual who I quite frequently see. And I always am marveled by how well he's able to not only release these things on a timely basis, but rather consistent on the level in which that these books read. Nita Hayes, if you're reading the Star Wars stuff, if you're reading again Philadelphia or anything else written by Rodney, there's an underlining continuity behind his styling that is not only recognizable but enjoyable, and you know that it ain't gonna differ in its deliverance that much, just in the product and what's that he's giving you. So it's really kind of cool because there's an understanding that as a reader that you know essentially what you're going to get, even though you never know what you're going to get. Which makes it quite enjoyable. And I dig reading Rodney stuff. So again, I guess what I'm saying is after all these years of reading Philadelphia, issue 35, coming out tomorrow on 8/24/2000 or 8/28/2024, what we're getting is a consistency that's been essentially one of my prime, or how should I say, underlining, how should I say, you know what I mean? My base. There we go. One of my base books that I always rely on to be there for me. It comes out every month. It's reliable on its delivery. It's never a bad issue, and I just can't get enough. So that's why, again, it was almost on my blue light special this month. And for something to be delivering that well all these years later is worthy of applause. So again, Rodney, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the fact that you and Jason are doing so well on Philadelphia. So issue number 35 coming out tomorrow. Again, Wednesday, 8/28 2024. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about Last Mermaid, issue number 6. This ends the arc. I didn't realize that it was not ending the whole storyline, but just an arc. The beauty about this story is a picture is worth 1,000 words. The art is incredible. The art is essential to the storyline. It is the storyline. It is what we're receiving more of than even words. I challenge anybody to deliver a story that has been able to deliver such emotion, such beauty, such horror as this with so little dialogue. It's just so difficult to be able to convey what you're really trying to do in a story like this with little to no dialogue. And this book really delivers. So that's why I am looking forward to issue number 6. I had no idea that this is going to continue, but in no way does that disappoint. So I'm looking for The Last Mermaid, issue number 6, coming out tomorrow on your new comic book day, Wednesday. Moving out from that, let's talk about Universal Monsters Frankenstein, issue number 1. I've been enjoying all these monster stories, all these classics. It's been something I've been really finding interesting on how the new take on the new generation and how this been able to be told. I can't get enough of it in the sense of I wasn't even a Creature of the Black Lagoon fan, and here we are after me reading it just the other night and finishing it out. Wow, I can't believe I wasn't reading this comic before. I had no idea about this character. I had just a small understanding through some of the movies I've seen, but the comic is so much better. And yeah, I'm digging all these classic monster stories. I can't get enough, and I'm just gonna keep buying them. And every time they come out, they keep coming out with a blank cover of issue number 1. So it's been kind of cool. I'm now on this new kick of getting sketches done, so I'm looking forward to getting some sketches on these classic monster covers. Moving out from that, which is Classic Monsters Frankenstein issue number 1 coming out tomorrow. Let's move over, and again, we're still sticking with Image. Void Rivals issue number 12. This is another one that somehow skipped off my radar. I did read issue number 11. I don't know why I didn't order issue number 12, which did I get? I know I got it. I got it. I had to have gotten on. Oh, please tell me I've got it. That was the goal. It was. Oh no, that's disappointing. All right, so tomorrow I gotta definitely go back. I gotta go back to the comic book shop. Excuses. Yeah, I think I might have done that on purpose, accidentally. Did I really? Huh. Go figure. So again, what I'm talking about is Void Rivals issue number 12. I believe this finishes off the secondary arc. Void Rivals started everything off. We are going to get new stuff coming in. I received something I wasn't supposed to show you, but we are getting new stuff with the Transformers. We're going to get a new G.I. Joe coming at the end of the year. All this stuff is culminating to we're getting the Energon universe that is bringing all these characters together as opposed to separate series that slowly tie themselves together or dovetail into the overall culminating story that we're essentially going to end up getting at the end of the year. This is the story and the birth of the Energon big storyline, whole world realm. Let's call it the wax that we're definitely been looking forward to, as opposed to, like I said, little threads here and little threads there. We're going to get the whole blanket covering us and giving this whole blanket of Energon universe. I am so looking forward to this. And Void Rivals, like I said, started it all. This is the one that has been kind of the bigger enigma because we're still we're still only getting, again, threads of how it ties into the overall bigger universe. We know it ties in. How, we're still kind of getting it. We do know that the major aspects of the technology that allow these two separate civilizations to develop were from the Transformers. But the overall game from them, we're still trying to figure that out, and how it ties into what's going on over in the other area of the Energon universe, we've yet to see. But again, I'm hoping we get more answers in issue number 12. But what we're here to actually see is, you guessed it, this week's Blue Light Special. And, well, it is from Whatnot Massive. Thought I'd never say that one. On something I've been looking forward to quite some time. When Free Comic Book Day came out, one of the hardest books to end up finding was I Lie Popeye Free Comic Book Day. That book flew off every shelf, everywhere. Kids were grabbing them, adults were grabbing them, adults knocking out kids, kids knocking out adults. Just kidding. And it was just pandemonium, cats and dogs living together. It was just nuts. So I really wanted it because I remember growing up as a kid watching all these cartoons and watching the Saturday morning cartoon where they would do this art sketch drawings. And I ended up even working in that very studio myself. It was just something that brought back a lot of memories, a lot of childhood. And what I'm getting at is again from Whatnot Massive, bringing us I Lie Popeye issue number 1. That's the cover, eh? Here we are with the variant, and here we are with the 110. There's still a couple more covers I'm dying to get. Dying to get a couple of the blank covers, and there is a digital, like 8-bit, I gotta get. Popeye is more to me than some comic strip. It just represent a time and an era in which that, like most old people, feel comfortable in. It also just something just draws me back to a time that I remember having close connections with, my parents, my grandparents, when they would read their newspaper and I would beg for the comic strips and so forth. So all these things just draw memories, and they're all, when you open up, a lot of memories are also tied into smells. So as soon as I open up a book and get a smell, it just reminds me of newspaper, and all those memories just come flooding in. So for me, again, the book represents far more than just a story. It just represents a lot of nostalgia, and I guess that overall is one of the reasons why I want to read it. I was really, really enjoying the Free Comic Book Day, the story on how Popeye lost his eye, the the leading into all these characters and how they're slowly changing the the dialogue almost that we knew these characters from. I like that. I think it's kind of cool, even though it still invokes a lot of the old memories of the character. It's bringing on some cool memories that I thoroughly enjoy. And again, I Lie, Popeye, issue number 1, my blue light special. I want to thank everyone that decided they want to hang out with me on the live. Those in which said, hey, Rod, I hope you're doing well. Picked me up on the rewind. I appreciate you, Jag. Yo, Chad. Me Wad being first in. Look at you. Las Cruces. Me Wad beat you. Just saying. Just messing with you, buddy. Christina and Ben. Everyone, if anyone that I may have missed, I appreciate you greatly. And for me, of 1-2 Comic Talk and Entropy in Comics, I thank you greatly. You stay well. And that's it for me. Entropy.